All right, everybody, welcome back to the Agents of Comic Book podcast. I am Paul Christian, agent of comic book, and I'm joined by, what's your name?
My name is Eric Jackson,
Yes,
and I'm another agent.
Yes, he lives with me. I forgot your name, though.
Oh, yeah. That's an easy mistake.
But yeah, so if you're just joining us, you might be coming over. We did have where both of us are from the EKG Let's Play YouTube channel. But if so you might be joining us from that, but if not, welcome. This is us. We'll be, our goal with this podcast was basically to start up like a book club, because we wanted to read through some comics for stuff that was upcoming, like adaptations, things like that. So that's what we're going to be doing. It's going to be...
Well, and that it's going to be focused on adaptations, or comics that have adaptations or are going to be having them.
So we're going to try to find characters that have shows or movies coming up and focus on those, maybe like dig into a certain character for like a month, something like that. So that's what we're doing today. Like there's the Batwoman show on the CW just started up a few weeks ago as we're recording this.
Yes.
Yeah, we have mixed thoughts about the show itself. We'll get into that later in the show. But... the format of this, we're going to start out by reading the source material. So we're going to actually read through and talk through the entire book. So if you've read it, that's going to be awesome, because then you can kind of read through with us, and we'll kind of give our thoughts about this week. It's going to be Batwoman Elegy by Greg Rucka and J.H. Williams. And if you haven't read it, what we're going to try to do is kind of talk through what's going on as well. So that way, if you don't like reading or, whatever your goal, or you don't want to spend money to get these books, that's fine. We can kind of tell you what's going on if you just are someone who watches the show, or you just want to learn more about these characters. That's totally fine too. But I will tell you that if you want to read through these with us, DC Universe is one of the best value things you can get as a comic book fan.
Yeah, I've been pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, because, you just got that, like a couple weeks ago?
Yeah.
We've already been using it a ton. It's going to be especially helpful for this.
Oh, yeah.
But, literally, you get every DC comic, ever made, pretty much. Not all of them, but they're getting there.
Yeah.
And then you also get...
Doom Patrol.
Yeah, Doom Patrol is, the best show.
Yeah, pretty much
one of the best shows on TV.
Oh, yeah, this year at least, for sure.
So when season 2 of that comes out, we're definitely going to talk about that as well.
Oh, yeah.
But we're not here to talk about Doom Patrol, Eric.
I wish we were, but...
Not yet, anyway. We'll get there.
All right.
No, we're here to talk about Batwoman, who is a relatively newcomer to the DC universe. She came around back... There was a book called 52 that came at the end of Infinite Crisis, where we didn't read that today just because... 52 is kind of a book where it's a bunch of characters coming together, like side characters.
Is that how the new 52 started?
No, but it's a reference to the same. For some reason, DC Comics is obsessed with that number, so it comes up a lot.
Well, and isn't that the whole multiverse thing too?
Yeah.
So there's 52 multiverses.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Exactly. That's Grant Morrison's whole thing, is where there's 52 different worlds.
Gotcha.
So this story was kind of like Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman are all gone, and so these side heroes are stepping up, and that's kind of where Batwoman came about.
Okay.
Batman was gone, so she's stepping up, which is kind of where the show is getting that idea.
Yeah.
With where they're moving forward. So Batwoman was sort of introduced in that book, where she was kidnapped by what's called the Religion of Crime, which is awesome.
I love it.
We both love the Religion of Crime. The Religion of Crime is amazing. It's just one of those comic book villains, which is just a lot of fun. But so she gets kidnapped by them, stabbed in the heart, because they think that she is a representation of the biblical Cain, because her name is Kate Kane.
They just got the spelling wrong.
Yeah, which is very lazy, I think. They're the first thing they found. That's got to be it. You don't want to keep looking?
They're not the first ones to not properly interpret their religion.
Yeah, right.
So
it says Cain. Did we misspell it? Forget it.
Good enough.
Just move on. Stab her in the heart already. But anyway, like a boss, she survives getting stabbed in the heart, takes the knife out of her heart, and stabs. She goes nuts.
Is there ever an explanation for that?
She's tough.
Strong ass heart, I guess.
Yeah, maybe they just used a really bad knife. You gotta get a sharp knife.
Yeah,
you can't try stabbing someone in the heart with one of these dull knives. It just does not work. But anyway, she gets saved by Renee Montoya. They kind of are in a relationship for a little bit, and then they break up, and that's where we start out this book, Elegy, that we're going to be doing next. Let's get started with a little Batwoman. All right, so we're going to open up the first segment of our podcast here. We're going to be talking about Batwoman Elegy, which was a book written in Detective Comics, about a 6 or 7 issue run by Greg Rucka, who is the writer, and J.H. Williams on art. And then we also have, let's see here. I don't want to leave out the rest of the creative team. Everyone always forgets about the colors. We got Dave Stewart on colors and Todd Klein on the letters.
Nice.
So, the thing with Elegy and pretty much all Batwoman books in general, I think, is that usually I say this as an insult, but it's not in this case. But this is a book you read for the art, I think.
Yeah, the art was great. I loved it.
Yeah, because like the paneling, like especially, is just like nuts. Like, I mean, it almost kind of makes it hard to read sometimes because you're trying to figure out like where the story is going next. But like it's awesome because like they'll create shapes with like the panels and whatnot. But we open up the book and Batwoman is doing the classic, bad guy in the crime alley, interrogating him, doing her badass spiel, and she kind of like she has a different take on Batman because she kind of like has like a more personal kind of like it seems like she's having more fun with it. But yeah, she interrogates the criminal and she's definitely looking for the religion of crime. And she ends up meeting Batman on the rooftop afterwards. And Batman's got this cool line where he's like, "Hey, you need to cut your hair. Someone's going to get in combat and, rip your wig off or rip your hair off." Yeah. And she's like, "I'm wearing a wig, Batman, but thanks a lot."
Well, she doesn't tell him that.
No, yeah, she's just like, "Yo, sure, whatever you say, man."
Yeah, I'll take it into consideration.
And he's like, gruggle. But yes, I mean, so Batman kind of has that role. That's kind of like the interesting thing I think about Batwoman too. When she's first introduced, is she's completely independent from Bruce Wayne.
Because I like that too.
Yeah, because like she kind of has to like earn his trust.
Yeah. Which is kind of what sucks in the show, how they're kind of playing like how the 52 is, where Batman's just gone.
Right.
So like I doubt they're ever gonna. I mean, maybe down the line if they go down the Batman route, we'll have an interaction.
Right. Yeah. So now, we've got a lot of thoughts about that CW show.
Yeah. I'll wait on that.
Yeah. Well, we'll save those because we're locked and loaded on that one.
Oh yeah.
But yeah. So I mean, it's kind of cool because she operates independent of Batman, and he kind of like at times is considering like, do I have to shut this person down because I don't know who this is? I don't trust this person. But he kind of like does some scoping, and it seems like they're kind of like. He's like, I'll let you operate. There's enough madmen. I got Azrael and all these other crazies going around anyway, so I might as well let you do your thing.
Yeah, he might as well like give her a shot if he can like help, if she can help him at all.
Right, but I think that's kind of the cool thing is like because all these like Robins and all the Batgirls are all like just working under Bruce, but she's kind of doing her own thing.
Exactly.
And so I mean, at this point in the comic, we don't really know how she's gotten all this stuff and the bat suit and everything, but like we just kind of like know she's just a badass who kind of popped out of nowhere. Mm-hmm. But we after this fight scene, we kind of go on after that, and Kate is on a date with a woman who she was dating, and she's blown her off, I guess. They're at a place called Morning Glory, where I guess they sell oranges. I don't know exactly what they're here to get, but she's eating breakfast.
Yeah, Morning Glory is like a plant.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure.
I'm pretty sure you can get high off it, too. It's one of those things where in, like, middle school, it's like, oh, you can get it at, like, Steinhoffel's.
So everyone's at this bar just getting high off fruits?
Yeah. No, right. It's like a flower. I don't know. It's weird.
All right.
I don't know what oranges have to do with it.
Well, whatever it is, Kate's late, and this lady is not happy with her because she thinks that she's cheating on her. But, I mean, she can't really tell her that she's doing superhero business, so she's just like, sorry. And so she gets blown off by her date here. Kate kind of has that like iconic style where she's kind of like pale as a vampire.
Yep.
And she's kind of drawn that way the whole book.
It kind of bugged me sometimes because like especially scenes where like it's like either intimate or like super personal, and she just looks like a fucking ghoul.
Yeah, like, literally like a corpse.
Yeah, like I was like, is it makeup? Like did you just put on like a lot of foundation?
That's what I think what it seems like at first, because when she's in costume, I'm like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool looking. Yeah, but then when she's you see her that way when she's like in the shower and stuff, or like when she's like just her normal self.
Yep.
And it's like, okay, maybe you just need to get out in the sun more.
Yeah, I think she just needs a little sun.
Or maybe, hey, this is the DC universe. Maybe she's actually a vampire.
You never know.
It hasn't been confirmed yet, but
that's a comic I want to read.
A lot of spooky stuff happens in these books. We don't know.
That's true.
For a fact that she's not
we know there's werewolves.
Yes, that we do know. We'll get to that. But yeah, so anyway, after Kate's date, we kind of go back and we get to meet one of the key players who's going to be kind of throughout Kate's entire run here, which is Jacob Kane. Who's her father?
The fucking man.
Oh yeah, no, Jacob. We both love Jacob Kane. He's awesome. He starts out as like a really, really like a character you can rely on. He's kind of like her Alfred.
Yeah, for sure. Or like her Oracle.
Yeah, he's like the co-pilot.
Yeah.
And so he's like the man in the chair. So she's at home, working out. They both kind of have like this military lingo they use, which I like a lot. Mm-hmm. He'll say things like in a military, because they're both from the military.
Yeah.
But so we go after that. She's going after the religion of crime. She has their hideout, and we get this really cool art where it's like her doing, it's almost like if you Google Batwoman, it's one of the first images that probably comes up. Her doing like this double kick through all these panels, like fighting the religion of crime. And that's kind of how we end that issue, because Alice. We don't know that she's Beth yet.
I was going to say, should we bleep that?
No, it's all right. Because we'll find out who she is later, but her code name she's going by is Alice. She has a really cool design. That's who the kind of the villain of this arc's going to be. She has like pale skin, kind of like this mascara and like this bright blonde hair, and she always seems like she's like lit up by like a spotlight almost.
Yeah.
And she always talks in like these Alice in Wonderland references.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, if I was living in Gotham City, I'd be like, really, we have another one of these like,
Right.
Alice in Wonderland people?
I was gonna say, like, do they ever kind of reference them with the Mad Hatter?
They
do
do
they
actually
ever cross?
in this next episode. They
Oh, really?
not as much as I would have liked because it is a little like you would hope that I want them to like team up or something.
I
you
feel
know?
like that's like they got Joker and Harley. You gotta have the Mad Hatter and Alice.
Right, that's what I mean.
Although that'd be a weird like ship.
Yeah, maybe they wouldn't
in
work together.
context
but
of like,
yeah, I don't know if I want that.
no.
But if they're not going to work together, they should be like mortal enemies.
Yeah.
Or they should have some
Yeah.
kind of like interaction, I think. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so we're just meeting Alice now, and it's kind of cool. We end the first issue with Batwoman just kind of, she shows up and smirks and pulls out a gun, and you're like, wait, what the hell? And then shoots her, and it's like, end of issue. And people who were polling this when the book first came out, they're probably like, oh my God, she just shot that woman. But, of course, we open up the next issue, and she, of course, did not shoot her with a real bullet. She shot her with, which I guess is like a gas.
Or like or like a rubber bullet, maybe.
A rubber bullet that emits some kind of gas that knocks her out.
Yeah.
Which I feel like would still hurt like hell.
Oh, it would.
Yeah, you're shooting that out of a gun.
Yeah.
Unless it's like pop.
Right.
But yeah, so Alice gets gassed out, and so we see another really cool art segment. We get a lot of these like really great fight scenes where Batwoman just kind of like goes through flips, and you see these small panels of her doing different punches and kicks, and it's awesome. Like J.H. Williams knocks this whole book out of the park, and like we'll continue to praise him probably as this whole series goes on. But so we see kind of this. There's this hilarious panel where Batwoman is swinging Alice across the woods, and she has this face on her that just looks like she's drugged out of her mind. She's like, "Oh, I'm flying." But yeah, it's amazing. And we land, and then this is where we kind of get our first interaction between Alice and Kate. And she, Alice is kind of just like teasing her, giving her little clues as to because Alice kind of at this point knows more than Beth knows on, because Beth is trying to figure out, Kate is trying to figure out, why the Brotherhood of Crime, or the Religion of Crime, rather.
Yeah, why they're
like,
obsessed with her.
Yeah, they've been after her this whole time. And the reason is really just because her name is Kane. But
Yeah.
I think she's assuming fairly that it's more than that.
Yeah.
Even though it's not.
Well, to her, Alice, it might be.
Yeah, she'll find out. That's what she'll find out.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she's wondering, like, why are you after me? Like, you guys stabbed me in the heart and you keep coming after me. Like, I've got to know why. Like, what's happening? And Alice doesn't really give her a straight answer, kind of dances around things. And so they talk for a little bit, and then eventually you kind of get this weird, almost gross panel where you get a shot from the inside of Alice's mouth.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that was awesome, actually.
Yeah, it's an interesting shot, and, like, you see that she has a box cutter.
No, it's a razor blade.
Or a razor blade, yeah.
Yeah.
Some kind of razor in her mouth, where she pulls it out of her mouth, like, and then uses it to cut Kate across the face.
Yeah.
And, it doesn't seem like it does much. She's like, oh, that was gross. But then all of a sudden, Kate, like, I think her head starts getting woozy because she starts tripping balls. Like, I'm pretty sure she gave her, like, some kind of, like, acid, like, blade or something.
Well, they said it was, like, poison, but I'm assuming.
Okay, so some kind of psychedelic poison.
Yeah, it's just, I don't even know if it was a poison necessarily. He just, like, got tainted, basically. I think he just drugged her.
Well, whatever happened to her, Kate is seeing lots of weird colors, and she's feeling weird. And so Kate kind of does the best she can, throws herself kind of, like, she gets thrown off the building, actually, by Alice. And she's like, oh, let's see if bats can fly, and throws her off. And, Kate's fine. She does her little glidey thing. And then we kind of land, and she is, like, really tripping now. And this is kind of where we start to get some flashbacks for people, because, Elegy is a really good jumping on point for if you want to start reading Batwoman. So this is kind of where Greg Rucka wants to back up and kind of explain some of her backstory a little bit, in not a forced way, and just kind of, like, show you images. Because, like, you get images of, like, a little girl being dragged away by, like, military men, which kind of, we'll get to that in a little bit, kind of what happens to her. Alice kind of goes back to her cronies in the Brotherhood of Crime, and then she kind of, like, just get, like, oh, swear to me, like, you'll all work for me. And then just randomly...
There's the dopest panel.
Yeah, just goes to town. Like, there's this really cool panel where, like, they're just standing in front of the stainless steel window, and she, like, has her hand on his head and, like, almost like she's going to bless him.
She's,
and
like, baptizing him.
Yeah, baptizing him, and then just shoots him in the head. Oh my god, it's so good.
Yeah, it's a great panel.
And then she just like bites her bottom lip and just like takes out another pistol and just starts shooting everyone. And it's
dual wields it.
Yeah, it's nuts. And so the Religion of Crime's having a bad day today.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, she's not really following the book anymore, which is kind of like the Religion of Crime has like this, like, what they call the Crime Bible. And they say, like, the first thing that ever happened.
That's so dope.
The Crime Bible. Hey, don't you laugh at the Crime Bible.
No, I think it's awesome. I love it.
I better not hear. Listen.
That's the Bible I want to read.
Yes.
That's the interesting one.
It opens up, like, they were, like, worship, like, Cain, you know, like, or the first murder.
Yep.
So that's kind of where everything comes from.
Yeah, it's actually really cool.
Yeah. And so Kate's kind of crawling through the woods, still tripping, like kind of has no idea what's going on. And she keeps getting flashbacks of like, men with like a man or a woman with like a hood over her head with like bullet holes in it. So you kind of get the idea that there's something going on there. Mm. And then out of nowhere, our boy Jacob Kane just shows up because he had gotten a distress signal from her suit.
Yeah.
And so he just shows up with his gun and he's like, "I got you, Kate."
Right.
And then like as the Religion of Crime members start showing up, there's this really cool just action scene of him just like guarding her with his arm and just like firing over his shoulder at all of them, and it's really really good. And it's like kind of at that moment where you're like, oh, Jacob is the man. Because like, listen, I love Alfred, but Alfred never shows up at the scene with a gun. He's like, I got you, Batman.
Yeah, you can't rely on Alfred in a fight.
Yeah, he's not a field operative.
No, definitely not.
Nice to have that versatility.
Oh, for sure.
So Kate shows up, Kate's dad shows up and starts firing at all of them. And I guess, I don't know if he takes out any of them, but it doesn't seem like he's really doing anything.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, there's probably a lot of them and it's probably dark. There's probably not a lot of shots being hid or hit. But then all of a sudden we see, and this is a crazy cliffhanger.
This is awesome.
Some eyes come back in from the back of the forest, and they're just looking around. And all of a sudden you see 3 what look like Hollywood monsters. One of them's a werewolf. One of them is what looks like an octopus man. What would you call that?
Octopus man's a good way to do it.
And what would you call that third one?
Lizard guy?
Lagoon girl?
Yeah, lagoon lizard.
Yeah, we got a creature from the Black Lagoon, octopus man, and a werewolf.
I really like the style though, because like it's literally in like a Goosebumps, like
it does kind of look like
campy, like horror, like Halloween looking theme.
It does kind of look like a Goosebumps cover. Now that you bring it up.
For sure. Yeah, it's dope though.
All right, so we end with that cliffhanger with all the monsters show up, and I mean you have to be going to the next issue wondering like what the hell is happening. So far, this has not been explained at all.
It's almost a jump the shark moment.
I mean, it's a comic book, so I mean, usually I'm willing to be like, what is this? Is this like a werewolf who's like an Aquaman villain, or like what am I reading?
Right.
But usually they'll come around and kind of explain what's going on, and they do kind of.
Oh, it fits.
They explain it pretty quickly here. I mean, they like thoroughly confuse you first because I think they kind of want to play into Kate's point of view of being, tripping balls.
Yeah.
And kind of being crazy high on psychedelics. Because we get to a point in like these early pages where Kate's hair is like a rainbow. Like she's tripping. It looks awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Like instead of like the scarlet red hair she's known for, it's like a rainbow flow. It's awesome.
Yeah, it looks sick.
And I have a note in my notes here for this issue that just says, wolves, they are good doctors. Because the doctor shows up in the van and she's like, Kate's on, her heart's spiking. We got to get her to to these machines so I can help her. I'm like, what, dude, are you a wolf? Like, all right, I don't trust you here, but maybe wear some gloves.
Well, and even the octopus man knew stuff too.
Yeah, these guys
don't have much time.
In octopus years, she's gonna die.
Thank you, octopus man.
Use my suction cups. But so we kind of get some insight on who they are. It turns out that these monsters are actually defectors from the Religion of Crime, because as we mentioned earlier, Alice at this point is kind of going off script and kind of abandoning the original Crime Bible.
Yep.
And at this point, people are kind of losing in the religion faith that Kate is actually the person who because some of the smarter people in the religion are being like Cain, Cain. They're not spelled the same. It rhymes. But like they're kind of getting in the idea that maybe we did this wrong.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if these monsters are good guys necessarily.
Wait, so Abbott's on the side, like they're on the side of Wolfman. He's on the side of that they got it wrong and that Cain isn't the actual Cain. Okay.
Yeah. So they're saying that like, listen, we still believe in the religion of crime, but these guys are doing it wrong, so we want to take them down.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm kind of like,
I heard that never happens in religion.
No, there's never offset defectors who kind of make their own rules because they want to be in charge.
Yeah, and things turn very badly.
And that's kind of one thing that kind of comes up for the rest of this arc that I don't know if I do like. Is that Abbott kind of gets, and all the monsters here kind of get very Kate trusts them very quickly.
Yeah, it's a little too quickly.
And like lets them in. Like at one point, I think Abbott's even like in her cave, like in her back cave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
Later on, we'll get to it.
Was Abbott like present when she got stabbed in the heart? Was he there?
I would have to think he was. I don't think he's actually there in 52. I don't know if that character had been created yet.
The way they make him he seems like he's like pretty high or like important.
Yeah, because people leave with him.
Yeah,
right.
Like he definitely seems like he's the leader of like that offshoot at least.
Right. So Abbott is the Wolfman. That's what we're talking about. So it is a little strange that she is so quick to just like forget. I know the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yeah.
But you're also like a crime fighter. And like as soon as these guys are done dealing with the religion of crime, they're gonna go start their own religion of crime.
Yeah, but I mean, to give her a little bit of benefit of the doubt, Batman's done that plenty of times too.
Oh, true. He's like worked with Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah,
that's.
I don't know if he ever
fair.
invited anyone to the Batcave, but
that's true. These days, pretty much anyone can get in the Batcave. If you're reading modern comics, it's a revolving door.
Well, another thing I want to bring about the show later, but
yeah, that's
yeah.
Trust me, if you're a fan of the CW, I'm so sorry. We're gonna talk about that.
Really sorry.
But we move on and we kind of get another scene with Jacob and Kate back at the Batcave. And Jacob is inviting her to this ball or this fundraiser that he wants to go to. And I think both of them know that they're not going to this thing. Or if they do, they're going to be there for like a minute.
Yeah.
Because they both have other plans. I don't understand what he's asking for here.
Right.
And Kate's like, no, I'm not going to a frickin' ball tonight. I literally have to stop the Brotherhood of, or the religion of crime
Remember
today.
when we got attacked by a werewolf man last night?
Yeah.
Or a werewolf man saved us from being attacked by a fucking crazy chick?
Yeah, no. So... yeah, Kate is understandably busy and doesn't have time to go to a ball, even though she does end up making it and shows up like a boss. Jacob shows up with Betty and with his wife, and they're kind of just hanging out. And then Kate shows up unexpectedly. They weren't expecting her to show up at all, and shows up in this awesome-looking tux. But everyone, Jacob's ex-wife is like, what are you wearing?
Yeah, she's all high and mighty.
Yeah, it's like, that's not a dress. He's like, yeah, I know.
But you're a girl.
Yeah, and Kate's like, deal with it. And so Kate's just kind of strutting about. I'm not quite sure why she came, but like she just kind of, it looks like she's just like looking around for some action. Yeah. And she finds it. We eventually meet who is a very established character in the DC universe, Maggie Sawyer, who, and if you've read any of these Batwoman stories before, you know she's going to be a huge part of this upcoming story.
Okay, quick question. Kind of doesn't relate to New 52 more, but in New 52, that like detective who Kate has a thing with, is that this same character? Or is it someone
Maggie
different?
Sawyer is the one in
They're
the
same?
New 52 run. Yeah, that we'll be reading.
That's what I thought. I was just making sure.
Yep. Yeah. So it's the same character.
Gotcha.
Maggie Sawyer has Maggie Sawyer. We'll talk about it more when we talk about the New 52.
Yeah, she's more in that.
There was also a lot of controversy later in the run because J.H. Williams wanted Kate and Maggie Sawyer to get married, and DC editorial wouldn't let them.
Oh God.
Yeah, so there's a lot to talk about there. It was a
so
huge
they're cool
thing.
with them having like a lesbian relationship, but not a lesbian marriage.
Yeah, and the other heroes are allowed to get married, but this was like the one they ex-nayed. It's questionable, but we can get to that. Yeah, it was very very questionable. People had
what year was
with
that?
Justifiably. It was towards the end of the New 52, so maybe. It's hard to say. Maybe 2012 or 13.
Yeah, so recent.
Yeah. It was not okay.
Weird.
Yeah, it's very strange, especially for a new character like Batwoman who can pretty much do whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, if you want to marry like Batman, I can understand having to jump through some hoops.
Yeah,
but like, come on.
Yeah, if you're marrying a character that's like specific to that character, like
right.
that character's universe, then what's the
and not to mention
harm?
Maggie Sawyer, since this Batwoman stuff has not been used at all.
Really?
In the comics. I think she showed up once. Well, no, she's alive.
But like they just killed her character.
It's not like they ixnayed the marriage so that way because they had plans for Maggie Sawyer.
Gotcha.
Nothing has been done with the character since.
Yeah.
But we digress.
Anyway.
Trust me, that'll come up a lot.
Yeah.
But we get to the end of this issue. Kate's at the ball. Jacob gets called away on a mission, very mysteriously. And Kate kind of spends her time dancing with Maggie Sawyer, and they kind of hit it off, and Kate gets her number. And then we find out that the mission, or wherever the hell Jacob was going, he got captured by Alice. We don't see it.
Yeah.
Because I think that maybe that would have taken too many pages to properly explain how a guy like him gets captured. But I'll go with it.
Right.
Because it sets up a really good conflict for the next issue, which is, they've taken my dad.
Yeah.
And I'm down for that. It's
time to get her family
I'm
back.
totally down for that. So with that cliffhanger, I mean, it gives us a really solid place to pick up the next issue. Like, if I was reading this monthly, this would have been like the issue I would have been like, it would have been the first thing I read.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's a great setup.
Yep.
And we even opened the first page with like more of this really like interesting, creative, kind of experimental paneling where it's got like Kate on the phone with her with Alice, I guess, and her dad, where we get like the front top of her face is Kate and the bottom of the face is Alice.
Yeah.
Which is maybe like the first hint kind of towards the twist later on in the issue, because the head like lines up perfectly, like the same shape.
Yeah, exactly.
And so we get this awesome scene next, and this is kind of what I was talking about earlier, where Abbott gets trusted very early, because Abbott meets up with her at the ball and says, "Hey, I know what's going on. Like I know where to find like Alice. We can take her down."
Yep.
And Kate questionably takes Abbott to her Batcave.
Yeah, literally lets him hop on the motorcycle.
Oh yeah, no, they're buddy now.
Yeah.
He's a sidekick.
Yeah.
He's the wolf man in charge. And so they go back, and there's this really cool shot too of Kate's tool belt, which I really like.
Yeah.
Because it even shows like in a lot of detail, like all the little different things that are in there, including 2 guns, which one of them might be that smoke gun she was using earlier.
They're probably non-lethal rounds.
Yeah, I mean, you can use a gun for other things to
Yeah.
like shoot projectiles. One of them might even be like a grapple gun, which would be cool.
Oh, true, yeah.
One of them is just straight up handcuffs, which is perfect. One of them is a cell phone.
Yeah, I mean, you need it.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to keep it on your body when you don't have pockets.
Yeah, very hard.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's like military grade.
Yeah, these superhero costumes are tough to carry things around in.
Right? If like girls' jeans pockets weren't small enough to begin with.
Oh yeah, imagine a spandex like superhero outfit. Yeah, you're not carrying anything in there. But we get this another cool shot where it's Alice kind of pulling into this military facility and using they have Jacob tied up in the back, but as soon as they pull up to the guardhouse, they kind of just shoot them in the head.
Yeah.
Which works.
It's one way to do it.
It's one way to do it.
Oh, well, they got one of the guards the guard shoots him at the head. Like the guard working at the door. So he was working with them.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. Now looking back at that again, yeah, they did have an inside man.
Yep.
So that does make it easier. So Alice kind of has some planning here too.
Yeah, she knew what she was doing.
Mm-hmm. And throughout this whole thing, she's kind of she's very vague, but it definitely seems like she has some kind of complicated plan going on here.
Mm-hmm.
Because we see her kind of sneak up and we find these like military grade weapons, I believe.
Or it's some kind of like chemical weapon.
Yeah, these canisters of some kind of chemical weapon that she's trying to fire, and she also steals this plane full of them.
Yeah.
And Kate kind of catches up too late and tries to catch up with the plane.
Well, here's one thing that always that bothered me about this. So I'm pretty sure this implies that she stole a plane that was already rigged to drop chemical weapons, like through a plane.
Oh, that's a good point.
or did she have inside men already make that before they got there? I'm gonna hope that's it.
Yeah, I'm gonna hope so too, because I mean I don't know if maybe Gotham is like, listen, we gotta go drop these canisters somewhere.
we have a contingency plan.
Yeah, I hope not, but I guess I don't know. I mean, if Batman's not around, or no, Batman is around at this point, so I don't know what's going on with that. I'm gonna hope it's Alice's people who just kind of gathered it all together.
Yeah, let's hope.
And Gotham isn't just preparing night drops of chemicals.
Because it's not like they just dump the canisters out of the plane. Like they're literally rigged up to the wing.
Yeah, that's
to
true.
Disperse.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what that's for.
Yeah, but I guess we'll pass
that. It's disturbing. So Kate shows up. She's a little bit too late. The plane's taken off, and Abbott tells her hey, there's so much gas on that plane that even if we shoot it down, that's going to take out all of Gotham City.
Yep.
So this is already a city level threat.
Yeah.
At this point, so Kate's she's in it now. And so, luckily, we have our monster folks with us who have tagged along, and they're all experts in one thing. And so, luckily, our what was it? The
Lizard
octopus?
Girl.
It's the Lizard Girl. Yeah, the Lizard Girl is like, listen,
Swamp
I can
Girl.
fly planes. Oh, perfect. Do you have to fly planes a lot in the swamp? Sure.
Yeah, the biplayer, the ones that land in the water.
Hey, there's people who do water landings. There's swamp planes. Maybe.
Yeah, possibly.
I don't know enough about swamps or planes to dispute this.
Not versed on swamps.
But there's this really cool shot where she's catching up. She must be a boss pilot because they catch up, get right above Alice's plane.
Yeah, I don't know how they did that either.
And they tell Kate, hey, listen, you can jump on that plane, but if you take all those people out, you need someone to fly it with you.
Yeah.
And, we only have one pilot here.
Yeah.
We can't give you ours. And she's like, well, that's right. There's a pilot on board. I'll use him.
Yep.
And she's talking about her father.
Oh yeah.
And so her plan is just jump off the plane like a badass. And then luckily,
she makes quick fucking work of this.
Oh yeah, she jumps on, gets the latch, sneaks into the plane right away. And immediately, there's this one Religion of Crime member who shows up, and she's like, "You'll never beat me,"
which is always a great line.
Yeah,
totally works.
And so one-on-one combat, and we get another one of these really cool panels where it's almost like J.H. Williams has broken glass, and each panel of the broken glass is a punch or a kick, and then by the end of the one page, she's out, she's done.
Yeah,
and so Kate's kind of making her way up to the front of the plane, and that's where we kind of get confronted. She takes out the pilot, and that's where Alice shows up. Oh, and we did miss one important part, too. Like, right before Kate jumps onto the plane, we get this scene of Alice kind of taunting Jacob, because Jacob's in restraints just kind of along for the ride on the plane. And she kind of, like, gets right in his face, taunting him, and all of a sudden Jacob has this, like, moment of, like, clarity, and he's like, wait a minute, Beth? And, like, I don't even know if at this point we fully know who Beth is.
I'm pretty sure it's the first time the name comes up.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's very clear, though, that he would, like, know who this is. And, I mean, we can just say right now that Beth is his daughter.
Yeah.
Kate,
the first time I read it, I assumed it was, like, his wife or something, like Kate's mom.
Fair. Yeah, that's fair. Because I don't think we know what her name was yet at this point either. But yeah, Beth is Kate's twin sister who went missing. We'll learn more about her in the next couple issues, which is all dedicated to her origin.
Yep.
Yeah, so he's like, Beth, like, is that you? And she doesn't really acknowledge it. She's just like, okay. And like walks off, and he's like, wait a minute. And so when Kate jumps onto the plane, she takes out the pilot and kind of takes everyone out and starts freeing Jacob. And Jacob's like, hey, listen, like, there's like no killing. Like, the Batman rule is in effect.
Yeah.
And we get this like perfect line. It's like, oh, it's amazing. She's like, Colonel, I always follow the Batman rule.
Colonel.
Like, oh, that's so good.
Oh, yeah.
Because, I mean, at this point, I don't know if it had kind of been hinted at in 52 that Batwoman doesn't kill, but it's not really super confirmed because we don't know who she is. And, you know, Batman, he makes a strong point about it all the time, like, we don't kill. But it's a really nice moment because especially... because Jacob is more like a hardened, like he's a general, you know, like he's been in the military his whole life. I imagine he doesn't have a problem. Like if your life's on the line, just, you know, shoot to kill.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's kind of like an interesting distinction for Kate Kane, I think, where she's just like, no, I'm going to go past that. Like we don't kill here. Like this is Gotham City. This isn't like war.
Yep.
So that's, I think, a really good character building moment that I really like, and it kind of makes me like Kate more.
Oh, yeah.
And so we kind of, this is the big what it's all been building up to, because that's when Alice shows up. And so we kind of get this, it's almost like a fight scene, but it's more like, obviously, Alice is kind of outclassed combat-wise by Kate, so it's more just like Alice is taunting her with information, because Kate, you know, she needs to know what's going on. And so Beth isn't giving her a lot, just kind of taunting her, you know, but then we get to, the fight escalates to the outside of the plane, where Beth is just kind of hanging on, Beth/Alice is hanging on off the edge of the plane, and we get this iconic line where she's like looking into Kate's eyes, and she says like, "You have our father's eyes," and then just lets go, and then falls down into the Gotham River, and Kate's like, "Oh shit!" Like, no,
yeah,
like, oh no, like I'm finally understanding what's going on here.
Yep,
and like I don't know how a person could survive that fall. So she just assumes that she didn't.
Yeah.
Like, that would kill a person. That's reasonable to think that.
Yeah. Well, and doesn't she look, too?
Oh, yeah. They do search the river, and they don't find anything. But we'll see. I mean, this is comic books. You never know who might show up again, Eric.
You never know. I'm just assuming she's totally dead.
I think she's dead for good, certainly, and we'll never see her again.
Never.
But that's kind of the end of the first arc of Elegy. There's the next two issues, which I really love, are kind of like more dedicated to Kate's origin. And so right after this first Elegy arc continues, I mean, technically these next two issues will be a part of Elegy. If you're reading this off the trade paperback, you'll have these two issues included with the story. So we wanted to include these because, in my opinion, these are the two best issues that Greg Rucka wrote.
Okay. These really give a lot of good context to everything.
Right, and kind of this backstory is kind of why I like Kate a lot, too.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Because we open up...
Another thing about the show.
Yeah,
anyway.
We'll get to it. Hold your tongue, Eric.
I can't.
Next segment, trust me, we'll go into it. But this is really where they build kind of what's going on, especially with Alice and, you know, with Kate and Jacob. Because we open up, we get it, you know, the idea that Kate grew up as a twin. You know, these Kate and Beth are like, they look exactly alike. They wear the same clothes. You know, they're those kind of twins.
Yep.
Jacob is away. He's deployed.
Yeah.
Because we kind of get our first scene of him and get an idea of what he does. Because Jacob is like hardcore special forces, like almost Black Ops. Like he does like missions that like he can't talk about.
Yep.
And so we kind of get one of these missions. We don't really get the context of what he's doing, just like a taste of it, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Like we just get like the action of it and like kind of what he does and how he's in control of his squad, which is a really good kind of setup for how he acts with Kane or with Kate.
Kate, yeah.
I'm not wrong, but I don't think he'd call him that. But when we get him returning home and we get this like really great scene where, you know, him and his wife, you know, they're they love each other still. It's a big happy family. So that kind of ends the flashback there. We kind of get this, good moment where they're like, we'll watch each other's backs forever, and it kind of fades to white, kind of like that Bucky Captain America thing, till the end of the line, and it kind of fades out, and then it fades into the perfect juxtaposition, which is Kate just kind of looking over the harbor as the police search the river for her sister's body. And they're not finding anything. We kind of get a shot of, I think, Commissioner Gordon there just kind of looking around like, hey, we didn't find anything. Like, she's gone, probably dead from that height. And so Kate is, obviously distraught. And Jacob is kind of, not taking it the same way she is. So she's not really happy with him because I think at the same time, Kate's at this point feeling a little bit betrayed. Yeah. Because she's like, something must have been up if Beth is alive. You must not be telling me something.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no way you found her body. Like, we'll get to I guess we haven't gotten to that part yet, but we'll like, Jacob had to have known something if Beth was alive. There's no way it could have surprised him.
Oh, yeah.
So we get this part of her just kind of sitting in her bat cave, and Jacob's trying to reach her, and she's not having any of it. And this whole issue kind of ends up being a flashback, because we go back to them as little girls again, just sitting in their little twin outfits. And their mom comes up, and they're like, hey, listen, Jacob's being deployed again. We have to move. And this is kind of like a thing that I'm sure a lot of people who live in military families deal with, where, they have to move constantly. And so the kids are upset. They're like, hey, we were just making friends. Like, we don't want to go. Yeah. And so the mom is like, oh, these kids are giving me crap again because we have to move. So, hey, let's go get ice cream. Or what does she say? Let's go get chocolate waffles.
Yeah, chocolate waffles.
Yep. So they're going to get their chocolate waffles. They're like, listen, let's do it. Like, whatever you kids want, I'll do it. So you little brats will shut up. So they go. They do actually have like an escort with them, like almost like a Secret Service guy. Yep. Like a bodyguard, which is handy, but it doesn't quite help, because on the way to getting ice cream, this is kind of where the whole backstory begins, where this is kind of like the crime alley moment for her. Yep. Because there's this semi-truck that crashes into the side of the car, and then we get what looked like very clearly like these kind of like terrorist-looking dudes in like black masks and bulletproof, like kind of paramilitary terrorists with like these bulletproof suits all covered up. They shoot the bodyguard instantly, who tries his best.
Yeah, he gave an effort. He got out of the car.
He did. He maybe could have done. I don't know. He's not Batman. He did his best, but he gets shot. The kids are freaking out. Mom gets taken, and they all get kidnapped. And kind of we get this cool shot, and this is kind of a really, really good sequence, like probably my favorite sequence in this whole book, where you see Kate's point of view, and this hood goes over her, and you kind of get like half the panel where the hood's going over her face, and the whole next page after that is completely black, because you're still in Kate's point of view. She can't see anything. Yep. So all you get are like these noise sound effects. You'll get the occasional like text of someone saying something, and it's like mostly her mom kind of being like, well, what are you doing? Let us go. Like, don't touch them. Yep. And then you just start getting like these sounds. One of them is like squirt. One of them is crunk. Crack. I'm maybe not making it as dramatic as it should be, or as tense.
WHNP.
Crack. Wimpimp.
Yeah, wimpimp.
But imagine in your head that these are really terrifying sound effects. Yeah. But we get, she's like, stay away from my daughter. What are you doing? And Beth is screaming, Kate's screaming, and all of a sudden we get, the classic, in every comic book, this is gunshots. It's crack, 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 crack.
Yeah,
crack.
yeah.
And so there's gunshots going off everywhere, and we just hear like tango down, Caesar, clear, clear. Yep. And X-ray secure. Grab the girls, and then the paneling finally changes. It's the exact opposite of when Kate got the hood put on her face, and we see Jacob just kind of slowly taking the hood off of her, still from her point of view. Yep. And it's just like Jacob in full Spec Ops gear, like with his squad. And like it's still her point of view, so you don't really get to see what happened. Mm-hmm. But it's bullet holes in two of the terrorists, and then the final thing she sees is her mom tied up to the chair with a bullet hole in her head and a hood over her head. Yeah. And then, I take that back. The final thing she sees is someone covering Beth's body.
Well, what looks like Beth's body.
True. Yeah, because we find out later that obviously she did not bite the dust.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a really, really powerful ending to the issue, where it's just kind of like, don't look, you don't want to see, you don't want to see what's going on. And Kate, of course, is just like two eyes wide open, like looking at the whole thing.
Fucking just a death stare.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, the next issue opens up. We're still kind of in part of this flashback arc, because we're moving forward in her life a little bit to where she's an adult and she's fully in the military. And we kind of get these parts where it's hinted at that, she has like a romantic partner in the military, and that she's kind of been she's been dating her almost, I guess, or just kind of, like, but she's been caught basically.
Yeah.
Someone's caught her, fraternizing with this other woman in the military, and she's being confronted by her commanding officer here, kind of saying like, is this true?
Yeah.
This breaks like our military guidelines. Like this is against the rules.
Yep.
And so this is like the classic like don't ask, don't tell situation where he's like, you can just like tell me that they're lying, and I'll recommend like you're still gonna get like kicked off, but you'll graduate.
Yeah.
You won't be a commanding officer, but you'll graduate. And there's this really great moment. Because like the motto of her school is like, never lie, cheat, or steal.
Yep.
And she's like, listen, sir, like this, I'm not gonna lie to you. Like this is the truth. Like I'm a lesbian. Like this is, I'll never lie. Like this is my integrity. And he's like, well, all right, well,
yep,
you're out.
See ya. Give me your ring, bitch.
Yeah. So he's like, wow. So this is like, a classic shitty situation where it's like, the don't ask, don't tell. It comes up a lot. And so she's been kicked out. And there's a really great moment later where she goes back to her dad and kind of like tells him what happened.
Yeah.
And I think at this, like, we don't know Jacob super well at that point.
No, not really.
But so you're kind of wondering like, oh boy, is this kind of where we're gonna be like, oh no, Jacob's a bigot.
Yeah.
But thankfully we
like I thought you put that behind you.
Yeah, no. Thankfully Jacob is a better man, and he's like, well, what did you tell him? And she's like, oh, I told him the truth.
Yeah, it's like, well, you kept your honor then. It's like, oh yes.
Yes. Oh, that's such a good moment.
Right, Dad of the Year.
Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, you told the truth. I'm proud of you.
Right.
Oh, that's so great. And like, not a lot happens in this issue, to be honest. That's kind of the big reveal. We do get kind of a funny part later where we get some insight into what Kate was doing in between her being kicked off out of the military and between her being Batwoman, because it wasn't a straight 1-to-1. Like, she didn't get kicked out of the military, get mad, and become Batwoman.
Yeah.
What happened was she got kicked out of the military, became really drunk,
yeah,
and started partying.
Yeah.
Partying. And after that, she became Batwoman, because we get a lot of scenes of her kind of just going out, getting drunk, dancing, doing her thing. And there's even a part on her way home where she gets pulled over on suspicion of drunk driving.
Yeah.
Which it's not really explained if she was or not.
Pretty sure she was.
I guess it's probably implied that she was.
Yeah.
I don't know if.
Well,
I like
and then
that.
She ends up basically seducing the cop.
Yeah,
and like getting her number.
This is maybe the most morally questionable thing she does.
Oh yeah,
in the whole. But that and teaming up with a werewolf man who might be a part of a cult.
Yeah.
And those two things, I don't know if I'm especially proud of her for.
It's walking the line.
It's not great. Also, it's not great for Renee Montoya either, who like fully gets seduced.
Oh yeah,
when she's supposed to be drug test or like breathalyzing this woman.
For real though.
But yeah, so Kate pulls.
But I mean, I guess it's kind of the thing where it's like, pretty girls don't get tickets or whatever.
Yeah,
it's like it could have been like
true.
A guy cop, but instead it was like a girl.
That's fair. Because I mean, it works. I mean,
it worked.
Yeah, she pulls the charm on Renee Montoya and asks for a date, and they do end up going out.
Mm-hmm.
And like, there's a scene later where like she wakes up at Renee's apartment, and Renee's going back to work because Renee is not out of the closet yet, and so she's like, "Listen, I'm going back to work. Like nobody like is gonna know about us. Like we can't go out."
Yeah.
And Kate gets pissed about that, and then Renee calls her out for being like, someone who's just drunk and parties all the time and spends her dad's money.
Yep.
And they're both like, fair. They both leave.
Well, no, and she calls her out saying like, "Oh, you live a lie every day by like being in the closet."
Right,
and,
exactly.
Like,
Yeah. So they're both just like, well, screw you then.
Yeah, well, fuck off.
Yeah, exactly. And so Kate's on her way back, pissed, just kind of doing her thing. I guess probably assuming that her and Renee are done, and then runs into Batman.
No, well, she runs into a mugger.
Oh yeah, that's right. She runs into a mugger first, kicks his ass.
Yeah, beats the shit out of him.
Yeah, literally like doesn't have a chance. He's like, "Give me your money." She's like, "What?" Boom, boom, and knocks him out. And then Batman shows up then, and I guess he's like, "Oh, I was gonna do that, but good job."
He like helps her up.
But yeah, the thing is, it looked very much like that mugger was about to hit her over the head. So was Batman about to show up like 1 second late?
I think so. I think he would have been late.
Batman shows up. Oh boy, she's dead.
Oh shit. Like, well, bad timing on that one.
Oh, I got to be a little faster next time.
Sorry.
I just wanted to see if she was a badass.
Right.
I wanted to see if she could do it herself.
I was gonna say, that's not a moment where, no, it's not, because she's not
Batwoman
yeah,
yet.
but
So
that kind of happens.
It happens
yeah.
later on when he's like testing her.
Yeah.
But that's when he knows like she's gonna do something.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
She knows she's not just gonna get hit in the head and die.
Yeah.
But this point,
Hopefully.
at this point, she very well could have just gotten hit in the head and died.
Oh yeah, easily.
But there's a really great page right after that. There's no text, no dialogue or anything, but like Kate falls down in the rain and like Batman just stands over her and like reaches out his glove and helps her up and then just fucking grapples away. It's great.
Yeah, it's
great.
awesome.
Just grapples away. It's awesome. And then she just looks up at the bat signal and there's not like a moment, and it's almost one thing I like about it, where there's not like a moment where she's like, Dad, I saw Batman, and I looked up at the bat signal, and I decided something. I have to be Batman.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, you just get it. Like,
Yeah.
She looks up at the bat signal, and that's enough. Like, a show don't tell.
Well, they kind of... there is kind of a moment like that, I think, in the last issue.
It's when Jacob asks her about it.
Yeah, but it's a lot cooler.
Yeah, it's not forced. It's not like... Because some comics will do a thing where... And it's kind of... harkens back to the age where there were thought bubbles.
Yeah.
It isn't really a thing that's done anymore.
Yeah.
But like characters will often have narration bubbles where they talk to themselves and explain what they're thinking.
And it's in like a square.
Yeah, this book doesn't do that a lot, which I actually kind of appreciate. It keeps down the wordiness and kind of keeps it flowing in action.
Yeah.
And Greg Rucka does a really good job of kind of trusting his artist to tell a lot of the story.
Exactly.
Like.
Yeah, it's a way more creative way of storytelling.
Right, exactly. So that brings us to the final issue of Greg Rucka's stuff, at least, where Greg Rucka went off the book and handed the book over to J.H. Williams. Because this is kind of like the final piece of the backstory that we're missing, which is that transition of her having that interaction with Bruce Wayne in the alleyway, and then her actually finding out how the hell do you become a Batman? Like, where do you start?
Yeah.
Like, what do you do first? Because those questions are all answered, which I like. Because she starts out. She steals some military gear, like some very basic stuff, like some batons, a couple smoke grenades, stuff like that.
Yep.
And just kind of goes to business. Renee Montoya kind of finds her at this seedy bar where she's hanging out, and Renee kind of fairly assumes that that Kate's just there, kind of looking around, just getting drunk, doing her thing.
Yeah,
and she's like, "Why are you here of all
living
places?"
on the edge? Yeah.
Right. So she's like, "Kate, it's getting worse. Like you're." At like the terrible bar where criminals go to. Like, what are you doing?
Do you have a death wish?
Yeah. And at first you don't really know why she's there, so you're like, oh wow, maybe she is like sinking this
things
far.
are getting bad.
But then there's this clever part where you hear these voices in the background and you know that she's listening. She's like getting intel from these criminals who are also there.
Yep.
And so we get the next scene of her kind of following those people back to where where they are, and she just kicks all their asses with these smoke grenades, and they're like, "It's a Batman! Holy crap! Like, what's going on?" And so she kicks all their asses with a baton. Kind of goes home, showers the blood off, and then Jacob shows up, and he's like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah. It's an awesome line. She walks in, and he's like, "That's the problem with tear gas. It's like it gets the smell gets on everything."
Oh, yep. So he like already knows. Like he probably walks in, he's like,
"Yeah,
what is this?"
Yeah.
He's like, "Kate, you're not fooling me. Like I know what's going on," which is great because I love those moments where like there's it tells you a lot about like the relationship that those two characters have,
exactly.
which I think is great. And this is kind of where Jacob is just like becomes that ride or die guy that you love because he immediately is like, I know what you're doing and you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
Like if we're going to do this, we're going to do it right.
Yep.
And
like no half measures.
Oh, it's so good because he like has boxes of shit and he's like, listen, you need every non-lethal you can get it. This is how you're going to do things because you're going to get yourself killed trying to do this the wrong way.
Yep.
And he's like, I got all the tools you need. I can keep the cops and the military off your back, and I can get you special forces training from the baddest dudes there are.
Yeah.
And that is amazing. Like, right off the bat.
Just
like,
lays it all out.
He's like, listen, I got people I trust who can keep their mouths shut. Like, they will train you.
Yep.
And that's awesome because it just, it helps explain also kind of where Kate gets all these moves from.
Oh, yeah.
Because, I mean, yeah, they explain a lot of times and they cover it and they bring it up a lot where she was like top of her class, top in acrobatics, just to kind of like explain away some of her like combat prowess.
Yeah.
But this kind of really puts the cherry on top where you're like, okay, I get why she's as dangerous as she is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, this is such a badass part. Is like, make no mistake, you do this, you're going to war.
Oh, yeah, that is
define the goal.
That is amazing. Yeah, I do love that part where it's like, we're going to war.
Yep.
And there's this great panel of like Kate like doing a backflip like while she's training and like all through the panels and like.
Yeah, she's like got a blindfold and her hands tied behind her back like fighting.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
Like, I can't say enough about the art in this book. Like,
it's so good.
It's amazing. Like you got to read this like.
The coloring really sticks out too. Whatever that dude's name was.
It was Dave Stewart.
Yeah.
We said it at the beginning.
Shout outs.
Shout out to that colorist. And so we get all this training and we kind of move forward. And, there's a cool part where like Kate first meets like his new wife and like they, she introduces like, hello, sir. And he's like, hello, soldier. And it's like, you guys don't call each other like dad and, daughter. Like, It's like, oh, it's all business. And then Kate finally gets her uniform, which is really cool. It's like, she kind of looks almost like military at first, but then Jacob's like, no, we're missing one thing. Like,
sprays on the bat symbol.
Gets the bat stencil. It's like, now we're in business. It's like, they got to know what side you're on. It's like, that's great. That's so good.
Oh, yeah, that's a great line.
And then we get back to modern day because we really haven't been in modern day a lot of this arc. It's all been flashback.
Yeah, the past like 2 issues.
They've kind of just been searching the river for Alice this whole time.
Yeah.
And I think at this point they've kind of given up because Batwoman shows up at Jacob's house, and there's even a really cool kind of panel in there where like Jacob's looking out the window, like getting drunk, drinking his scotch, and then all of a sudden the lightning blows, and then Kate's right there, like classic Batman style. And Kate is pissed at him at this point, like she's almost written him off, like you lied to me this whole time, like if Beth and Alice are the same person, like you must have known.
Yeah, you kept something back
and
from
he's
me.
like, yeah, I did. Like the body was never found. Like the girl we found there wasn't Beth, but we never found her. We searched all over forever.
Yeah, it's like I never stopped looking.
Right. And Kate's like, you did stop looking clearly because like you didn't find her.
Yeah.
And like now
she found you.
Right, exactly. And so Kate kind of speeds off on our motorcycle. Jacob's just like drunk and like crying, and then we do kind of get a shot of, which is interesting, of Beth in the water. And I don't know what they're trying to say with that necessarily, but it's almost like it looks like she's alive.
Well,
or at least
the reflection of the water is a skull.
Oh, that's a good point. I didn't notice that before. So it's hard to tell what's going on there.
I know, because they make it look like she's alive, like gasping, like she's taking a breath. But then there's a skull in the reflection, so yeah, who knows?
But they're definitely playing it coy there. I mean, that's how they end this arc, and they don't really touch or say what's going on with Alice for a long time after this.
Yeah, so I still don't know.
Yeah, they leave that in the air for a while. But that's kind of the end of the elegy arc. They do a really good job of setting up all the backstory kind of at the end there. But that's the first story we're covering this week, which is Batwoman Elegy, again by Greg Rucka and J.H. Williams. What did you think about it?
I liked it a lot. Like, cause going into it, I knew nothing about Batwoman. Like, I figured it was like basically just Batgirl, just like grown up or something.
Yeah, I think that's what a lot of people probably think at first.
Yeah,
even with the red hair too.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, I think it's a really great story.
Yeah, it's a good setup to kind of set her apart from the other characters in the Bat family. Because I mean, all the other characters in the Bat family kind of do have a similar origin, with the exception of a couple like Cass and some other ones.
And they all come from the same tree, so it all kind of fits together, and like it's really cool that like Batwoman, like she takes a lot of aspects of Batman, but has her own like personal like stake in it, and like her own personal like inspiration.
And like she's not going to answer to Batman either.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
it puts them at not quite conflict, but I like that they're like not always eye to eye.
Yeah, which that dynamic like gets into play in New 52 once like the DEO or whatever, and then with Batman Inc. and all that.
Yep, and it continues to come up. Like they have similar philosophies, but they're not exactly the same, which I think is interesting. It's a fun idea to play with. But I think that's a really good place for us to open that up. I mean, I think a lot of what they're going to be adapting for the show is based on this arc.
It seems like it, yeah.
And a lot of the stuff that kind of comes up right after that we'll be covering, moving forward next week and whatnot. But yeah, that'll do it for our first book of the week. So that's going to be like the meat and cheese of what this podcast will be, is us talking about the books and kind of going over that. But one thing we definitely do want to touch on as well is we want to talk about the adaptations too, and kind of see how they stack up, see how they compare. But what we're going to be talking about this week, of course, is the first episode of Batwoman, which is why we're doing this series, which is a new show on the CW, starring Ruby Rose and some other people whose names I forget.
Yeah, I really don't know any of the other ones.
I should look up their names real quick.
Probably.
But yeah, so we gave this show a shot. I mean, me and you are not exactly fans of the style that they shoot these CW shows in.
No.
I mean, this show isn't guilty of all the CW isms.
No, it's not.
There's a lot of them though. There's some few noticeable things.
Yep.
But I mean, I didn't hate the episode. It's gonna sound like it the way I'm talking, but there's definitely some.
Honestly, there were a lot of redeeming factors about it.
Oh yeah, there were some things. There were some sequences in general where we were both sitting there like, hey, this is impressive.
The fight scenes, like specifically, like stood out.
Yeah, the fight scenes are great.
Isn't the stunt coordinator the dude from John Wick?
Yeah. If you look at the credits, the stunt coordinator's been on some really good movies. Okay. So that's kind of the first thing that made me interested in this.
Yeah. So yeah, they did that really well.
Yeah, because when you do a fight scene right, you don't need to cut away a lot, which really helps. when you shoot it that
Yeah,
way.
really minimal cut fight scenes, which was great.
But we open up this episode. This is the pilot episode, and the way they're kind of setting it up is they're saying Batman's been missing for 3 years. We don't know what's happened to Batman. So Gotham City's been without a protector.
Yep.
And so we don't really know what's going on with him. I mean, there's an event coming up later called Crisis, which I think will have Batman in it. We'll get that question answered.
Okay.
But what's going on right now is basically Gotham is protectorless, and they've opened up this, I guess, organization of super cops / NSA / I don't know.
It's it's basically like a fucking black ops, like mercenary
who
like
just
army.
hang out in a tower with these like kind of cool coats and just like protect everything.
It's basically Blackwater, like the I think they call them contractors technically, but it's like the dudes we use in the Middle East. They're basically just private militia.
Oh, and I guess I didn't really get I didn't get the impression at first that they were private, but I think they must be because they don't say ranks or anything.
No.
Yeah. Because that's one big departure from the show is what the show is doing. Because we get introduced in the first scene.
Yeah, and they're called the Crows.
The Crows. What is that?
It's so
the
bad.
The Crows? Are they? Oh.
Not even ravens.
And there's a part even later on in the comics, which we might get to, where Jacob starts his own kind of paramilitary organization called the Colony. They could have just called it the Colony.
Colony is infinitely more badass than the Crows.
But anyway, we start out with Jacob is protecting this, I guess the mayor is giving a speech or something.
Yeah.
And he's protecting him. He's like, he's on the comms like everything looks clear. And, Sophie, who is also part of the Crows, we get introduced to her. Mm-hmm. And they're kind of protecting everything. And that's when Alice, we get our first hint of Alice, and she's kind of making herself known as a supervillain in Gotham. We don't get a ton of what she is, other than she kind of seems like a mix of the Mad Hatter and the Joker.
Yeah.
She's not quite the Alice that we got in this LG comic. No. Or at least she doesn't look like it.
They got the hair right.
The hair looks good.
Part of the outfit. They've got like the ruffled sleeves.
Yeah.
But like
she doesn't seem as crazy though.
No, definitely not. And she seems a lot more like self-aware,
like more of like a personal mission.
Yeah, it's way more of like a Joker vendetta than it is just like her being like mystical.
Like she's being a little bit like kind of like like flamboyant and weird, but that's the extent of it.
Yeah, like
she's definitely not crazy.
No.
And she doesn't have a painted face either, like the comics, which I kind of wish she would have had.
I really wish she would have. Because like the weird, like the streaky makeup and stuff.
Yeah, that makes it look really cool, but maybe it just didn't look good in live action. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
and they gave her like a stupid, like weird, like trifold knife that she like constantly is flipping around.
She's like obsessed with it. I don't understand.
And she, like it's to look all cool. I guess
it doesn't give anybody psychedelics, which I really wanted.
I know. Yeah, and she's not all trippy like she's in the
I thought that was really cool in the first one. She's like, "You're gonna be on drugs now."
I know, that would have been great.
But we get our first kind of scenes of Kate Kane too as well. We kind of get a lot of backstory with her really early on.
Yeah, and they did the good old backstory storytelling of doing flashback scenes with a weird tint and slow motion.
Oh my god, it looks like a Lifetime movie.
So it looks like a cheesy reenactment from like old crime shows.
Right.
Like, it's so bad.
Yeah, it's like I got run over by a car, and I've lived to tell the tale.
Exactly.
It's like got this super orange filter. It's
it's really like a sepia filter.
Yeah, it's like super overly lit.
Yep.
It's I don't like the way it's shot at all.
I hate it.
And we get the backstory, and this is what I'll just say. This is my biggest problem with the whole episode, and probably if it stays this way, probably my biggest problem with the whole series, which is them changing Kate's backstory.
Oh, they slaughtered it.
We talked at length kind of about how much those are our favorite 2 issues of that elegy run.
Oh yeah,
which is her like kind of and her mother getting kidnapped, and then Jacob's Spec Ops group rescuing her and the fallout from that. We get none of that in the show.
None.
It's completely changed.
Yep.
Apparently, Batman is fighting the Joker.
Yep.
And there's like this runaway bus.
Yeah.
And Kate and Beth are both in the car with her mom, and the runaway bus hits their car off a bridge.
Yep.
And Batman,
it's hanging halfway off a bridge.
Right.
Kate gets out.
And then Beth it falls off apparently.
Yeah, well, Batman he sticks a grapple onto the back, and then he has to go save the bus full of school kids, but the grapple fucking fails and the car falls into the water. So like Kate's got this whole vendetta, but like, oh, Batman didn't come back to save my family.
He's only got one grapple.
Yeah, it's like, dude, like he tried his best. Like he had to save a whole bus full of children too.
He could have tried to Spider-Man it though. When he grapples one, grapples the other. It's like, oh, hold them
the
together.
Bus in the car.
Come on, Batman.
Oh man,
he could have called for help. He's got a whole Bat family.
Yeah, where's the Justice League?
Yeah, I don't really like that being getting the message of like Batman didn't save me.
I know. I
don't know if I like
But
that.
then, we'll talk about it later. But no, I think, it was by the end of that episode that kind of got cleared up, didn't it?
What do you mean?
Like where, because, okay, can we talk about, because it was the end of that episode where she basically just like breaks into the Batcave.
Oh, sure. We can jump around a little bit. I don't
she
mind.
essentially just breaks her way into the Batcave with no resistance.
Yeah.
And then, okay, let's talk about Luke Fox. He is literally just a bumbling fool in this. Like,
he gets better a little bit, I think.
yeah, no, you can tell that they want to have him have an arc. Like, he's going to, like, progress into more of, like,
Yeah, they got to break him
Alfred.
down to set him up. Because he's got to have that hero of, like, I'm stepping into my role.
And this is another big thing that we, like, kind of brushed over, but Jacob Kane isn't going to be the comic Jacob Kane. It looks like they're going to make Luke Fox like the Oracle Alfred type
because
deal.
that's one of the main changes that we're talking about with Jacob is not in the military. He works for these crows.
Yep.
He's private. You know, when they introduce themselves to each other, it's not soldier and sir. It's like, hey, kiddo.
Yeah.
Hey, dad.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's a lot different of a dynamic.
Yeah.
Again, that's one thing I kind of liked about Kate and Jacob's dynamic in the comic was that it wasn't the same as, you know, already you set it apart by her having a dad, her having parents. Most heroes don't get that.
Exactly.
And then not only that, it's kind of like a cool, interesting relationship where, you know, it's very professional, but you can tell that they love each other based on their actions.
Oh, yeah.
Which is great. Mm-hmm. But in this show, it's a lot different.
Yeah.
But we left off with Kate kind of hanging off the bridge.
Yep.
And so Batman lets the car fall, and that's the main difference. It's shot in that terrible orange filter.
Yeah.
And I don't like any of it. Just like, help me, Batman.
Yeah, it's like, mommy.
Oh God.
Oh, it's so bad.
And
it's not, and it's the bad slow motion too, where it's all choppy. It's not even good slow motion.
Yeah,
and if you can't get good slow motion, just don't do it.
Show it in live action. Let us get the whole.
Oh God.
It's like we need double the frames here. It looks bad.
It's bad.
And then we also get another flashback scene where they set up pretty early, like her. It's just like the comics. This part where she gets caught with a woman in the military and then gets confronted.
Oh no!
And the flashback scene looks just as bad though. Like it's shot full lighting, looks terrible.
Yep.
And like we just kind of get these quick cuts of like, you got something to say, Private? No, sir. And then we cut. Like there's nothing there. Like we don't see what happens.
Nope.
And then the worst part is we get this is like the funniest part. We get this because most of the time these flashback scenes have been really quick.
Yeah.
Which is fine. Like it makes that filter almost fine when it's like a super, super short scene.
Yeah.
But when you have like a longer flashback scene and you're still using that orange filter and the overlighting,
it's just bad.
it looks like a soap opera. It looks awful.
It's terrible.
And we get this scene where like her and like it's right after the military and like she's gonna break up with like because her girlfriend doesn't want to like come out of the closet. She wants to stay in the military.
Yeah.
And so she's saying like we need to break up. Like this isn't gonna keep going. Yeah. And it's like really like they're trying to make this really emotional scene, but it has this awful lighting.
Yep.
And then not only that, but then like. We couldn't even hear it at first. But
you can't.
This music starts coming up in the background. It's so quiet. So quiet.
Oh my! And it just slowly builds, and it's just like your typical like it looked like a scene from like the OC or like Riverdale or like some cheesy teen soap opera.
And like I don't know if this happens in the CW a lot. I feel like it's something that probably does.
It probably does.
But like it's just like this tiny music and like someone's like singing. It's like R&B music. It's like don't break up, don't break up, break your heart.
Yeah, like it's literally like that. It's the worst thing I've ever heard.
Is there music playing?
Yeah, like it's almost inaudible until like almost the end of the scene.
Oh yeah, and it's like you could have made that a powerful scene. Like that could have been a really emotional scene, but it's like I'm getting all this like it's forced.
Yeah,
like,
I'm watching it through a soap opera lens.
Yeah,
like,
and I don't like this.
No.
But we don't. Most of this episode is a lot of setup for like her and Sophie and her dad because we don't get a lot of her being Batwoman. Like we get to that part that you mentioned where she kind of sneaks her way into the Batcave.
Yeah,
because it is the same as the comics here where she's Bruce Wayne's cousin.
Yep.
And so she kind of like goes in there. I forget what she's originally looking for.
Well, she's looking for Bruce.
Oh, that's right.
And then this is another thing. Here's a huge hole in this universe. So Batman's been missing for what? It's been 3 years.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming Bruce Wayne's been missing for 3 years.
You would have to assume.
No one made that connection? Like, what?
They've both been missing for 3 years.
What are the odds? Like, goddamn.
Wait, didn't you always say, like, Batman would have to be someone absurdly rich?
Yeah.
No connection here, sir.
Absolutely none.
Like, there's even a part, like, we'll read later in the comics where we finally do meet the DEO where Director Bones is like, no one's ever been able to figure out who Batman is.
It's like, how? Like, I feel like Kate Kane would be harder to figure out than Batman.
Yeah, anyway. But, So she goes to see Bruce. Bruce obviously is not there.
Yeah.
They did not cast a Bruce Wayne.
Nope.
But she does run into Luke Fox, who is a fan favorite from the comics.
Okay. Yeah, I know nothing about him.
He's Lucius Fox's son. In the comics, he is actually a character named Batwing.
Okay.
He's a member of the Bat family. If I did kind of describe him in one sentence, I'd say he's DC Iron Man.
Okay.
Because he's like a genius who wears like a tech suit that has like wings on it.
Gotcha.
Basically like an Iron Man suit.
Okay.
But he's pretty cool. But it's very clear they're kind of setting him up as her Lucius Fox, but he's, the younger one.
Gotcha.
And so that's kind of the direction they wanted to go with this, more of like the tech side of him and not the combat side. I don't see this version of Lucius Fox kicking anyone's ass.
No, definitely not.
Definitely not. But she does meet with him and then kind of like, I guess, steals the bat suit, which it fits her right away, doesn't it? Like, no, he fits it later, doesn't he?
No, well, because she gets into the Batcave and then he comes bumbling in.
Oh,
and
right.
He's like, "Oh,
what are you doing?
You shouldn't be in here." And like, it's like, "Oh, well, now I know."
Oh yeah, and then she guesses his password.
Yeah, guesses the password. What is it, Alfred? Or Alfred 1?
I think it's Alfred. Yeah,
it's so bad. And then so then he's like showing her the suit, and he's like, "Yeah, like it's perfect." And then it's something along the lines of like,
cool line.
It's not perfect until it fits a woman.
I did like that line.
Except, and that was a cool line until you saw what the suit looked like on her.
It does look like butt.
The mask and the helmet looks so bad.
Well, because from the promotional material, we know it's eventually going to look like Batwoman.
Yeah, like you can see it right there.
Yeah, like we're looking at it on our computer right now. You can see like the suit's eventually going to look like Batwoman. But I think they're getting to that point.
They really want to build it up because we're 2 episodes in now, and it
hasn't happened
still
yet.
No new suit.
Yeah, because there's even a part at the end, we can talk about the ending here. There's not much there. She shows up to fight Alice.
Yeah.
To take him down with the bat suit now.
Yeah. Well, Jacob's it's like some rally. Jacob gets called by Alice. She's like, "Oh, there's a fucking truck or a van full of bombs. Either like and then she's got Sophie up on a huge plank on a skyscraper. She's like, "Oh, either you like let me push her off or the bomb goes off." So he's got to like pick, but then friggin' Kate shows up, obviously.
Right. And then so
really good fight scene there too.
Oh, great fight scene. This is maybe my favorite part in the episode.
Yeah.
Where she's finally getting in and taking out all the I guess I keep wanting to call them the cult members.
But I know.
This isn't the crime, religion.
It's a gang that wears bunny masks.
They do call it out by name in the second episode. They're called the Wonderland Gang.
Is that really? I missed that part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it says it on the news article. Yeah, she's the Mad Hatter at this point.
I mean, they wear bunny masks.
But even the Mad Hatter makes people trip out on drugs. How can you be someone Alice in Wonderland inspired? It better happen.
It's lazy.
I'm waiting for that part.
Yeah, it's got to happen.
But yeah, she shows up. Really awesome fight scene where there's not like any cutaways. It's just straight up fight scenes. It's great. And then kind of she has her confrontation with Alice, and they drop the bombshell right away. Like Alice pretty much tells her, like, "I am Beth. Like, I am your sister."
Yeah.
And there's this. They're kind of trying to create like a. It's like if a love triangle was not a love triangle, but like a daughter triangle, where they're both trying to compete for their dad's affection.
Exactly.
And so she's like, Sophie's the new daughter now. I gotta hurt Sophie because I want to be Dad's favorite.
Yep.
And that's one thing I don't necessarily like about this version of Alice. It's like all personal.
I know.
And it gets personal with the other version of Alice, but it's more of like a twisted motivation. Mm-hmm. Whereas this is just like, I want revenge.
Exactly. It's just a straight up revenge plot.
Not as interesting. But I'll go with it for now.
Yeah.
But so that's kind of where we leave the episode. Is Kate's kind of thrown for a ringer, like, that's my sister. Holy crap.
Yeah. Well, she gets her knife, so she wants to test it for DNA.
Yeah, and then so that's kind of where we get left off.
Yep.
But then she saves the day because Alice's whole plan this whole time was to like set off a bomb. And like she has like like a big red button on a planter that she's gonna use to detonate the bomb and like blow up Gotham City. And then Kate's like, "Not today," and like throws the button off the building.
Yeah,
and like it starts just like flipping and falls to the ground. And
hopefully, hopefully didn't land button down first.
Like there's a 50-50 chance here. Like I don't know how these buttons work. Maybe when it lands, it just breaks.
Or maybe there's a safety, like you got to push a button on the side and then a button on top.
But I just imagine that button landing face down. Like I saved the day.
Beep,
beep, boom.
And then even better was frickin'. So then, of course, like the beam that Sophie's standing on breaks, so she's got to jump off and catch her midair, and then they literally fall on a roof, break through, and land on a bed. Mm-hmm. It's like, come on.
And then they're like looking right at each other. It's like, I saved you.
Are they gonna kiss?
I saved you, baby.
It's like, really?
Nope.
A perfectly placed bed.
No, but then we get the do get the twist later on in the episode too, where it turns out that she is married actually to a man.
She's married to a guy now.
Yeah, so Kate's like, Nani?
Yeah, big Nani moment.
But yeah, I mean, it was an all right episode. I mean, I think I liked it probably as much as I'm gonna like an episode on the CW.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean,
like it had a lot of merits, but as a whole product it just fell
short. I mean,
short.
take our opinion for what it's worth, because
I'll tell you one thing. It's not a 3.0. On IMDb,
fair.
It is getting trolled.
Yeah, this show is getting review bombed to hell.
It's so
bad. Because all the incels and, bigots are like, a woman superhero and a gay one?
Yeah, a gay woman superhero?
Yeah, 0 stars.
Yeah, 0.
Yeah, it's the same treatment that every Captain Marvel got the same treatment, except Captain Marvel's straight, so she didn't get it as bad as this. Probably.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, it's so don't trust the reviews. This show isn't as bad as it looks.
It's not gonna win any awards, but it's not a 3.
No, I mean honestly, and I'll say it again. For a CW show, I was impressed.
Oh yeah,
I went into it expecting to hate it.
Yeah,
because I don't like the CW style at all. So that's what I mean when I say take our opinion for what it's worth. Because if you like other shows on the CW, you might love this.
Yeah, totally.
This might be great for you. And I don't mean that condescending. There's just different tastes.
Oh yeah, totally.
You look for different things in a show.
Yep.
So I mean, if you like The Flash or you like Supergirl or you like Arrow, you'll watch this because this is awesome.
Yeah, it's on par with those.
Yeah, for sure. And she'll show up again in this big crisis event they're doing. We might even cover that.
Oh, right.
That'll be pretty interesting.
Yeah, that could be.
But yeah, so I mean, overall, I'd give this probably a solid maybe 7. Maybe a 7 out of 10.
I'd say a 6.
It's 6.5, 7 out of 10. I think is fair.
Somewhere in there.
But that's a positive 6.5 if it is.
And it's early. It could get a lot better.
My main problems are just that it seems like they didn't understand how important that backstory is.
Yeah, I don't either.
If they had kept that,
I can maybe see them thinking they don't want to go the route of she needs her dad to help her, she can do it on her own,
right.
And that's cool, but that's not the character.
But you're replacing him anyway with Luke Fox.
But they made Luke Fox a bumbling idiot.
Yeah,
so there's gonna be
charge.
plenty of moments where Kate's taking care of him.
That's true.
So
that's fair.
But I totally get that. That's a cool dynamic too. But that's just not the character.
Right.
But of course, that's just being a source material purist. But
yeah, I guess we'll see what they do with Jacob.
Yeah, it could get a lot better. Who knows?
So we'll see. I mean, maybe Jacob even later on will get more in on what's going on.
Yeah, because as of right now, I don't know how they're gonna make Jacob a redeemable character.
Or what he's gonna do.
Yeah, I don't empathize with him at all.
Because is it just gonna be him constantly getting in her way?
And that's what it seems like. Yeah.
Because listen, we got to do things the crows need this one.
Yeah, I'm sure he's gonna learn stuff along the way and kind of evolve. I'm hoping, but yeah, who knows?
But anyway, so yeah, I mean that's episode 1 of Batwoman. That'll also do it for the end of our first episode here on Agents of Comic Books. So, I mean that was fun. I enjoyed. I enjoy getting a reason to finally get you to read some comic books.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, no, for real. I've been looking for a reason.
Oh yeah, so this is good. I mean, next week we're gonna dig into Batwoman a little bit. We're gonna cover Batwoman for a little bit here because we want to at least dig into that New 52 story for a few volumes and see what's going on.
Yeah, because I like that one a lot too.
Yeah, so
I think Elegy was stronger. I liked it more, but New 52 was good too.
Yeah, so we'll be covering that next week. We're going to start with the first 5 issues of J.H. Williams. Ended up taking over this book himself, doing the writing.
Okay. And he's the one who did the art. The art.
Yep.
Okay. So did he do the art and the writing for New 52?
Some of it.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll kind of go over that.
Yeah,
the art does change at one point, and it gets noticeably worse.
Ah, gotcha.
but yeah, so we'll be digging into Batwoman a little bit moving forward. So make sure that if you're listening at this point, I'm assuming that you were enjoying at least some of it. So
yeah, I'd hope.
If you want to follow us, we have a website over at agentsofcomicbook.com.
Okay.
We'll be starting up a Patreon soon enough because one thing we want to start doing is taking fan requests.
Yep.
For doing one-off episodes too in between because our main goal with this podcast is going to be to kind of in the weeks building up to something coming out, we want to study it.
Yeah.
For example, when Birds of Prey comes out, we're probably going to read some Birds of Prey book for at least 3 or 4 weeks. Just to really dig into it so we know what's going on.
Yeah.
So that's what we're trying to do here with Batwoman, but there might be some time in between where there's not really something going on, where we have time to do a one-off, maybe read 1 or 2 Doctor Strange stories and watch Doctor Strange or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Or if you want to request it, you can make us watch something bad, like maybe Catwoman.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, so you could really torture us. But for now, if you just want to go ahead and send us a request, by all means. At this point, we're just looking for stuff to do.
Yeah, any input.
Oh, one thing I wanted to point out too that I kind of want to do is if you want to write into us, like I said, this is going to be kind of like a book club. I don't want this to be a podcast where we just talk at you or explain characters at you because there's a lot of you can get that elsewhere. If you want someone who's an encyclopedia of comic book knowledge, go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Because there's other people who will, explain a character's Wikipedia entry at you.
Exactly.
And go over everything they've ever done.
Yeah.
That's not what we want to do here. We want to actually read through the stories as you would.
Yeah, exactly.
And kind of like, you're a new reader yourself, so this will all be fresh for you. Most of it's going to be fresh for me, too. Like, I haven't read all these books. So we want you to read them with us and communicate with us. So one thing I wanted to call out is if you want to write into us, like, write in like some letters or just, we'll read it on the podcast. We'll share, like, if you want to write in, our email is agentsofcomicbook@gmail.com. Just write into us, share us what, anything. It doesn't have to be about what we're reading. Just tell us what you're pulling, what comics you're reading, what you're enjoying. What you think of the podcast, anything. We just want to hear back from you.
Yeah, anything.
And so, we want this to be an interactive podcast. We want you to be part of the book club.
Yeah.
But that'll do it for this episode. That's any final closing thoughts, Eric?
No, it's fun. I think we can get some going here.
I think you should be good to your neighbors and be good to yourself and be good to your parents and your puppies and your kitties.
That's a very wholesome message.
Yes, I want to.
We're a wholesome podcast.
Only the wholesome thing. Goodbye.